going for a third time. Fucking. I don't. Everything's in, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I swear to, I don't know if anybody is listening to this, that it's going now, but if anybody is listening to this and knows why the Zoom recorder, you have to update the firmware like every 4 to 6 months and it doesn't get fixed, I don't get it. I swear to God, like as I'm tinkering with this thing, I'm having visions of just throwing it out the window. And I looked I don't know if I told you this, I looked all over the internet for a better, simple recorder. And all the reviews are, this thing's the best. I'm like, the software that drives it constantly, like when you update it, it fails after a few months.
Yeah, it was great in the beginning.
I don't know why it does that. And when some of the invalid files, you can't erase them.
Oh. So
they just sit on there broken. And then you have to bring a new firmware and then format it. It's a giant pain.
It's a lot of work, yeah.
Anyway, we're back. Critique-Opolis is back. We've been gone for a month for a myriad of reasons. What have you been doing? I've been busy with work.
I'd say pretty much the same thing I'm always doing, work and life.
So we kicked around a couple of movies, and this wasn't actually on my list, but I've just heard so many people, like comedians, talk about this movie. I never saw it growing up, so I thought I'd go back and watch it with you now. But what was funny about this to me was at the time when this came out, I just remember everybody talking about Midnight Run. Oh, it's hilarious. It's nonstop. And it was, comical and funny, but it didn't by our standards. It wasn't you didn't fall down.
No.
So Charles Grodin, Robert DeNiro. How do I want to break this down? Do I want to talk about this or do I want to talk about the trip?
You want to talk about Midnight Run first?
All right.
That's what we're talking about now.
All right.
Keep going.
I have to just so everyone knows, I have to keep checking the gauge here to make sure that Zoom's tech doesn't crash on us yet again.
Is it doing okay?
So far.
Okay.
Usually it's right in the beginning. Jack Walsh is Robert De Niro. He's a bounty hunter who is sent to find a bail jumper and a former mafia accountant, Jonathan the Duke Mardukas. Again, usually we pick we'll watch movies just for fun, and this was one of those, and then we'll pick a movie that we actually want to review, and because we haven't done it in a while, we're kind of switching it up, and this one was just for fun, but we're going to end up reviewing it. And this is an older movie. This is from 88. 88, really? I thought it was 84. Oh, no, you know what? Because we were, I remember being in Texas. My folks went down to Texas to help I think my grandmother moved in with her daughter down there. And I remember seeing ads for this in the paper, and when a movie came out, especially if it was a big release, you'd see the ads in the paper for months. And it was funny, but this movie, it really dates itself when you watch it.
Yeah, it really does. But I like that. I don't know.
I do too, but it's not the. It's funny going back and watching a movie that was made in the mid to late 80s in comparison to what is released now. Just the style in which directors shoot and edit. It's almost like when you watch a movie from the 80s, it's like, I don't want to say it's rudimentary, but edits are a lot simpler. The scene setup is a lot. It's more. Dare I say plain? It's just a lot.
No, that's that's
like
what I would say.
Close-ups, over the shoulders, wide shots. And you hear people talk about movies from an earlier time as being formulaic. This was kind of like, this was almost like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, but with two cons, or with a con and an ex-cop. But Planes, Trains was funnier.
Yeah, definitely.
It's still funnier. But who do you have the IMDb pulled up? Who played Marvin?
Who played Marvin?
What's that guy's name?
John Ashton.
Yeah, he was in a bunch of the Beverly Hills Cop movies. He was one of the cops that Eddie Murphy teamed up with in L.A. It feels kind of funny to do a review of this because it's not very introspective. Yeah.
Yeah, not really. I mean, like you said in the beginning, it was just a movie that I think that you picked that we just watched for fun. Which, I mean, we always watch movies for fun, but it wasn't. There was no intention to review it or comment on it.
I think I'm struggling with talking about this because I was too young to see it when it was out. It was an R-rated movie, and my folks wouldn't let me see an R-rated movie. I think it was 88, so I was 13, I guess. And I remember getting all this play, and the adults in my life were talking about it. And I remember really wondering what happens in this movie that's so goddamn funny. And now having watched it, I'm like, yeah, I got a chuckle out of it. And it was fun to watch actors from when I was a kid who were just kind of. He was already past making his bones at that point. He was like a 45-year-old actor. Raging Bull was behind him, and Charles Grodin had already done. He's been doing comedy for a while, but had I not had the experience of everybody talking about it while I was growing up, I'm like, this is just some other movie. When it came out in '88, it was like the movie of the summer. I'm like, yeah, it was all right, but it didn't have name a movie that was big when you were in middle school that you couldn't wait to go see, that everyone was talking about, like Jurassic Park. Or were you too young when that came out? How old were you when that came out? That was like 90.
The first one?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You must have been like 10.
Maybe. Wow, that was a really long time ago. I don't know if I even knew
what it was
or that it came out. Maybe I learned about Jurassic Park after the fact. But that wasn't a movie that would have been on my radar anyway. But I do remember it was R-rated and really violent. And people were like...
Which one?
Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park wasn't R-rated.
No, it wasn't R-rated.
No.
Well, it was really violent. I guess because the dinosaurs did
they ate somebody.
I mean, they were dinosaurs.
Yeah.
But I didn't really get... I mean, that's just not a thing. I'd have to look up movies and look up dates to think about a movie that was big like that.
Yeah, this was just...
But regarding Midnight Run, I thought that it was fun to watch and entertaining. I mean, there were funny parts, but I wouldn't say it was like overall hilarious or whatever the whole time. I think it was more suspenseful and more like not thriller, but not mystery either, but
it was more an adventure.
Yeah, an adventure. There you go. And it was just like, what's going to happen next, and how are all these people? Because in my mind, there were a lot of people involved in this one case, if you will. Yeah. And everybody was after everybody. And sometimes I felt it was kind of hard to keep track of who everybody was.
Oh, really?
I thought so.
Like when that's a thing that just interpersonally struggle with when there's a big cast. Who like
Yeah.
what the relation is from one character to the next. So should back up a little bit because anybody who listens to this is not. Sometimes you forget that they weren't born at the time that we were, and maybe they didn't. If they were born after this movie came out.
I mean, quite honestly, I've never heard of this movie before,
Really?
ever. No.
Oh my God,
Which is, I'm kind of like a little bit shocked too, because to hear you talk about it and to talk about.
Because DeNiro
like,
at that point in time, at that age, he was on fucking fire. And so when he was put in a comedy movie, but that was still an adventure, he still had that cop component. I think all those genres coming, and Dennis Farina.
Yeah.
Who was a cop, by the way, to anyone listening, who I think he has passed on. Oh, and Yaphet Kotto is in it. Yaphet Kotto plays the FBI agent who's trying to ultimately bust Dennis Farina's character.
What would we know him from before?
Who? Yaphet Kotto?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, he looks super familiar to me, but like...
He was a James Bond villain. I think that was... Not Never Say Never Again. Anyone who's listening is losing their mind right now. Spy Who Loved Me, maybe? I have to go way back.
I mean, quite honestly, there's a lot of James Bond and a lot of information in each movie, so I don't see why it's so...
Well, just because, like anyone
James
who really
Bond aficionados would be like, how come you can't just say it right away?
I haven't... He was... see if you can find it, because I'm fumbling here, but...
you can continue talking about... I'll look for
Witness Protection. A lot of these movies were direct-to-video. The Ride, Homicide... he was an Alien. Yeah, he was an Alien.
Live and Let Die.
Live and Let Die. Two If by Sea. Always playing an FBI agent.
That's a great song.
The Puppet Masters. Sequest 2032. I remember that. That was a TV show. Almost Blue, Extreme Justice. Trying to find I think he's more well known for movies in the before the 80s. He was in The Running Man with Schwarzenegger. Bunch of Perry Mason. Desperado was a TV movie. He's been around. Oh, he was in The Star Chamber. That was a movie with Michael Douglas about a group of judges who are sick of all these light sentences being handed down to criminals, or criminals getting off on technicalities. And they're just a group of judges who convene and say, okay, this guy who got out, who had to get let off on a technicality in my court, we're going to have him killed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
A House Divided, Denmark's Fantasy. Othello, Rage.
Yeah, I saw that. I was looking at his IMDb.
No, he's a great actor. He's been in a ton of stuff.
Oh, he was in the original Thomas Crown Affair.
I saw that, but I saw it a zillion years ago.
I honestly, I'm sorry, I don't remember him in it, but
that was the one with what's his name, Steve McQueen.
Yep.
So
anyway, we got off subject a little bit.
We're breaking up the conversation here. So Jack Mosley is DeNiro, and he's tasked with collecting the Duke. They start out in Los Angeles, but the Duke has skipped town. The gangster they're trying to bust is Dennis Farina, and what's his character's name?
Jimmy Serrano.
Jimmy Serrano. Serrano's in Vegas, and
Serrano like the pepper.
Yeah, and the Duke has skipped town and gone to New York. So Jack Walsh goes to New York, tracks him down, like snags him in his house, and from that point, it was kind of a long movie, right? It was about 2 hours.
It was really long. I think it's a little bit over 2 hours, yeah.
So he's trying to get him back into L.A., and this is really, it's just like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yeah, that was a really good comparison.
Because every mode of transportation they try to employ gets screwed up in some way. Like Mardukas, he fakes a panic attack and won't get on an airplane. Then they have to drive, and something happens with their car. And
he's really insistent that he couldn't fly. I thought that was really interesting because really it's no problem. He just didn't want.
It's funny. Spoiler alert. It's not. Is it really a spoiler alert with a 30-year-old movie?
I covered my mouth. I didn't really think about that before I said that, but yeah, no. But it's just.
This is kind of an interesting character study in that he was like he stole all this money from the mobster, and he told Jack that he just gave it away.
Yeah, we're talking a lot of money.
Yeah, like a few $1 million, several $1 million. And like now you would spend some time in the script like detailing the crisis of faith that he had, or the decision he made, like why he would do that. Just keep your mouth shut and collect your money. But he has this, it's not even really explored. He just has this epiphany, and he just steals money from the mobster and gives it away to charity. And I don't even know if it's so much a critique, but like okay, it makes sense on the page, but it's not really. I don't think they really had like a heart to heart. Like, well, they did kind of, where Grodin tells DeNiro, Serrano he steals money and he provides drugs to people, and like, why should he get to keep that money? Like, well, okay, I agree with it, but like, you worked for him. You knowingly worked for somebody like that. So just little inconsistencies like that. I think this is the kind of movie that it's perfect for the fall. It's more of a just like, don't think about anything in the afternoon and zone it. Like, if you want to think about something, this ain't it. And I feel kind of bad saying that, because De Niro was like, at that point in his career, he really could do no wrong. And I don't think he did wrong with this movie. It's just, I guess I question like what people's intellect is around comedy at that time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I do.
And I don't know if I'd say that like what we find funny now is so much more sophisticated.
That's exactly what I think it is. Funny to us is it's a different funny now than it was then, I think.
I remember my folks, my dad and my stepmother saw it, and I remember them just talking about some of the whole, like, Marvin, the other bounty hunter, swipes the Duke back and forth from Jack a couple times. And I remember them, like, at the dinner table, them talking about these things. I'm like, okay, I want to see it now. And now, as an adult, having seen it, I'm like, okay, seems like not so much a plot point, so much as like a sector of the script. I don't know if I'd go so far as to say, oh my God, I don't laugh at it feels like the situations were a little drawn out to be found funny to retell them later. Do you know what I mean?
And no offense to any of the people who made or were in the movie, but it was like mildly amusing to me. Yeah. And not in a bad way. I'm just saying
it just wasn't like
yeah, exactly.
It wasn't Airplane.
No, it wasn't. And it wasn't. There were some funny I think I said that already. There were some funny moments and there were things that I laughed about. I think my favorite thing was when Robert De Niro's character and Charles Grodin's character were in a vehicle together.
Yeah.
And I say that because anytime it was just the two of them on screen,
Yeah.
and they were just going back and forth. Like, I think sometimes they would have heart-to-heart conversations, but even in that heart-to-heart conversation, it was funny. And then other times they'd just be having ridiculous conversations. And again, not laugh out loud funny, but made me laugh. Two guys arguing.
You know what prompted me to watch this? You know who really likes this? Mark Normand and Sam Morril.
Oh, really?
They were talking about it very recently on a podcast, and they were like, "Oh my god, I love that movie." I'm like, "Yes, it's good. Takes me back to my youth for sure." But
I honestly don't know if I'd watch it again.
It's funny because they were talking about like I must have seen that like 15 times.
And again, not
really?
that it was bad, but it was just. I mean,
I want to
I
say
watched
it was
it
a solid 6.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
solid 6. But
it was entertaining. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed watching it, but it wasn't.
It was no.
I wouldn't necessarily be like, oh my goodness, you need to run out and see this movie
I think,
right now.
You know what, though? If you have seen De Niro recently, De Niro in the 80s is like a totally different guy. Wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah.
Like he's an older man now. Mm-hmm. You know,
No, I have to say
he's a grandfather now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And a father. That's him, right? Who had the kid?
Yeah.
God, isn't that crazy?
It's insane.
It was going to be like...
It's insane.
What is that? Fucking, like 30 years from that movie, he's going to have another baby.
It's just
That's
insane.
bananas.
It's really crazy.
I was going somewhere with that. Anybody listening, you get the vibe of this podcast. Like it's a lot of stream of consciousness. If I haven't written something... Oh, I remember what I was going to tell you. There was a bit in here about trivia that I thought was interesting. So there's a boxcar scene where they jump a train. Mm-hmm. And De Niro and Grodin discuss whether or not they could have been friends if they weren't in this situation. Mm-hmm. And it was almost entirely improvised on set. Mm-hmm. And the part where Grodin's has this was apparently a famous line. You ever had sex with an animal, Jack? He just like out of nowhere. You remember that? Where
I was like really kind of shocked by that. Like, where did that come from?
Yeah. So this
it seemed very random to me.
Yeah. He says he was told by the director Martin Brest to come up with something that was guaranteed to make even De Niro laugh, because you can see it when you watch the take. He's just like, what?
Huh.
He's like, yeah, there were some chickens back there. I saw you checking them out.
He did, yeah. That is interesting. Thank you for sharing.
Also, the idea to have Jack Walsh, Robert De Niro, continually checking his watch, and the whole backstory related to his habit was all De Niro's idea.
Oh.
I always find that interesting. Like you hear about this in the stories of movies getting made, like a particular scene, how it came about.
Yeah.
How much of that came from the writer? How much of it came from the director? Or did an actor make a suggestion and then it happened? And then it becomes lore.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yep.
Grodin had permanent scars resulting from the real handcuffs he had to wear for a great deal of the film. Yeah, because he was wearing cuffs for the whole thing.
Yeah.
Even though they had rubber and plastic handcuffs that could be used in wide shots, De Niro, ever the method actor, encouraged Grodin to wear real steel ones for most scenes. John Ashton said that De Niro got into his part so much that he actually hit Ashton during the fight scene on the train.
Oh, wow. Thanks.
So, as we're talking here, Paramount Pictures originally owned the rights to the film to improve the film's chances at the box office. The studio wanted a big-name star to appear opposite De Niro. It was suggested that the character of John Duke Mardukas be changed to a woman and be played by Cher, who had recent box office success with The Witches of Eastwick. That was 1987, Suspect in 87, and Moonstruck, also in 87. Holy shit, I didn't realize she was in so many movies.
Yeah.
All in one.
Wow.
I didn't realize Eastwood and Moonstruck were in the same year.
No.
And Suspect, I don't even remember Suspect. That must have been Dennis Quaid was in, and Liam Neeson was in that.
I don't remember that either.
Well, that was 87. You were like, what,
2,
5?
3, 4.
87. You were 83?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Is my math off? 87. Yeah.
It was felt that casting Cher opposite DeNiro would lend some sexual overtones to the relationship between the two characters. Let me just stop this read right here just to mention how hilarious that would be to film, because isn't she like 6'2" or some shit? She's tall.
I'm sorry, who?
Cher.
Oh, yes, very tall.
She's tall. DeNiro's
I'm pretty sure
shorter than me.
Really?
Yeah, he's not that big. He's like Tom Cruise.
Oh.
Yeah, he's not tall.
Wow. Okay.
Let me see what else it has to say here about this. Sexual overtones related to the relationship. Director Martin Brest rejected the gender switch idea. What is this? The gender switch idea. So Paramount Pictures suggested giving the role to Robin Williams, who had recently had a big hit with Good Morning Vietnam. God, 87 was a banger year for movies. Williams read and liked the script and agreed to audition. In the meantime, however, Brest had auditioned the less famous Charles Grodin and liked Grodin's interaction with DeNiro. As such, Brest cast Grodin without auditioning Williams. Paramount decided to drop out of the whole project, selling the rights to Universal, who went ahead with DeNiro and Grodin casting. That's interesting. I didn't know that. So, if you're my age, pushing 50, and haven't seen Midnight Run, I wouldn't block out part of your day to get it done. But who is the McGovernment sent me a voicemail? Ugh.
Did you say the McGovernment?
Yeah, that's what it said.
Oh.
You know who that is? It's Tom McGovern, the guy from those, what is it? Wolves of Glendale. That band that made up the song about Fruity Pebbles. I've played for you before. About things in the grocery store, and I know I've played this.
A real song?
Yeah, we played it on Instagram.
It's vaguely familiar, but I don't remember for sure.
They had a whole. One of the songs was all about cereal. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna play. It's this coming back. Yeah, I remember. Play this for you, and we laughed.
Okay.
I don't know if I have anything else to say about that movie, but what I do want to tell you about is I've kept this under my hat. So every year I have a trip up to Applefest. And I go from Detroit area all the way up to the top of Michigan, across the Mackinac Bridge, and then I hang a hard left and go across the Upper Peninsula for the whole trip is like 10 hours to Bayfield, Wisconsin. I sell honey up at the end of summer, first weekend of October. There's always this, it's like a fair festival. I'm always in the same spot, and I sell honey for 3 days. And I've had a lot of repeat customers. I've been doing it probably, I don't know, like 11 years now, 12 years. And every year there's always some little like goofy thing that happens. Like I think I told you one time there was somebody who they brought a jar of hot pepper honey back, and it was tipped over and it was partially poured out in a bag, and they're like, "We want our money back." And I'm like, "For what?" Did I tell you this?
No.
This was like 3 years ago.
Their honey spilled open, and so they wanted a new.
They're like, "Well, the cap was done properly." I'm like, "Come on, man! I don't know that." Like, I mean, once you leave the table, I mean, this isn't Meijer or Walmart. I mean, that's kind of, they're like, and I'm not going to vent everything. It was
Yeah.
an awful interaction, but that's like an example. This time,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be so revulsed by this.
Okay.
So I stay with my buddy Ryan. He has a
Jay's been waiting weeks to tell me this. I have not heard.
2 weeks. Ryan has a scuba diving charter that he runs up around Isle Royal. He takes people out for a week, and they go diving at all the shipwrecks that are near Isle Royal that are diveable in Lake Superior. And we sleep on the boat, and we just, after my selling activities are done, we go out to dinner, and then we go back to the boat, have a cocktail and bullshit and play cards or just hang out and then pass out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is kind of a sidebar, but Ryan's dive boat is called the Discovery. It's pretty large. It's got an upstairs loft for him and his wife and a V berth in the front for 4 or 5 people.
Okay.
Which is where I sleep. But apparently this year, he is up in there's a number of harbors. Mm-hmm. And there's one that he comes out of, I think is on the northern shore, on the Canadian shore,
mm-hmm.
I think. And he has to bring it across the lake to the Apostle Islands, which is in the western section of Lake Superior.
Mm-hmm.
And when he takes the big boat, it's like a 3 or 4 hour tug.
Okay.
But there was a ton of wind, and so the chop was like between 3 and 6 feet. And he's like, it'll take forever to bring it over. I'm going to be barfing the whole way. I'm not doing it. So instead, he brought the smaller boat, which Kayla, his wife, works out of. It's a 24-foot cabin cruiser.
Okay.
Because he can get it across faster.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow he did it without flipping over because he's a stud.
Mm-hmm.
And being stranded in the middle of the biggest body of fresh water in the country. So he gets over, and there's not really a bed for me. There's just a space behind. There's the driver's seat, and then there's an L-shaped couch
mm-hmm.
that you can stretch out on it, which I did on the first night and sleep. But behind that,
mm-hmm.
before you exit the boat, there's a gap about, 3 feet wide that
mm-hmm.
I can lay in,
mm-hmm.
and that's where I camped out.
Okay.
This is not that. I'm just setting the scene for everybody. So we stay in the harbor. In the morning, we jump off, go into the. There's harbor bathrooms with showers, and we use that, and then I walk out to the. It's maybe 300 feet to where my booth is.
Okay.
Now everything's going great. First day, second day, and the third day. It must be maybe 3 hours before I'm done. People are coming up, they're sampling honey. And I get this lady she must have had 3 or 4 girls.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was this guy. I don't know if he was the husband or the boyfriend to one of the girls or a brother or what.
Mm-hmm. But
for anybody who knows me, there's all kinds of thoughts out there about selling and salesmanship, and a lot of them I utilize, but some of them I cast to the wind.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're a bad behavior, I have no problem calling it out, particularly if it's gross or it puts another customer in jeopardy,
mm-hmm.
or it's just everybody has a threshold.
Mm-hmm.
And when mine's crossed, I open my mouth and I say what's going on in my head,
mm-hmm.
and I don't make any bones about it. That's just I do it the way I do it, and I think I've told you I've had other friends of my parents like, you gotta watch what you say. I'm like, yeah, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
I think some people, when you light them up, they kind of have it coming.
Mm-hmm.
But you listen to this and you tell me if you think I behaved inappropriately. So this lady is up there sampling, I believe, orange honey, and the girls are behind her kind of screwing around, and then this guy is off to my left at the edge of my tent. Now I have a easy up tent I never put these on when I'm in the Michigan markets, but we have nylon walls that you Velcro around and they go down to the ground. And the tent isn't raised all the way up so that the walls kind of curve in. There's extra fabric that I can put my boxes on top of. So when I reduce the leg size after the market is over, I can stack my boxes on top of that fabric to keep it weighted down.
I see, yeah.
So because that's in a high wind area.
Okay.
And I don't want it to get blown away. And I've got, a couple 1,000 pounds of honey, so I use that as a big giant anchor. But while I'm selling, this guy is off in the corner at the edge of my booth, and he sees me talking to this lady, whoever she is, and he thinks I'm not looking, and I catch him out of the corner of my eye. He dips his head into my booth, and he has a wad the size of a fucking softball of dip in his mouth. And he doesn't just spit into my booth. He spits out this wad of chew into my booth right next to all these boxes of honey. Now, the boxes are closed and everything. Yeah, if you could see Luisa's face right now, she is horrified, as was I. Except you're keeping it together. Like, to look at your face would be to know how repulsive that is, right? Let me just say, I lit this guy up.
Yeah.
I stopped in the middle of the conversation. I'm like, oh my God. Did you just spit a wad of chew into my booth? And everybody stops. And I can't stop. I'm like, were you raised by wolves? And I'm telling these kids turn white. I'm like, I have food here. The health department walks around here. You're going to get me, I'm the one who's going to get fined for this. And the health department didn't see it or anything.
Right.
But it's just gross.
Oh, God.
And he was like, well, it was off in the corner. I'm like, it was inside my place of business, you dirtbag. Who raised you? And they're like, and the lady's like, well, I'll buy this. I'm like, you will buy this and you will never come back here, ever. Oh, even now when I think about it, my skin crawled.
Yeah.
Please comment, because otherwise I'm just I'm out here twisting in the wind.
I'm so horrified. I can't. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, it was.
I cannot believe this.
Yeah. Everything on that aisle, God. Someone's selling some type of edible item for the most part. Or, there's people selling trinkets and such, but I don't know why you would think that's all okay.
I do not know why you would think that is okay.
It wasn't off to the side. It was inside my booth.
And I can't. Did he think you weren't gonna see? That he would do it inconspicuously? That it wouldn't.
Well, that was the other part. At the end, I'm like, I know you thought I wasn't looking at you. I'm like, you're 6 feet tall and you're a beanpole. How am I gonna miss that? You dip that giraffe neck head of yours into my booth and spit out this, a softball. Oh
my gosh.
Yeah, it was. Guy ruined my day. I'm like, there's always one of you. I'm I have 2.5 hours to go here, and you guys show up and defile.
Really, seriously, my whole weekend.
Did
you have to clean it up?
Well, it was on the street. That's where our things are. But he didn't hit any boxes or jars or anything, but it was very close. Yeah. So, you okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I understand why people dip. It's repugnant, but I think if you dip, it's gross.
Yeah.
And if you just behave in a way that, some people have, that's a habit for them, right? To chew that stuff. And if you're hooked on the habit, that's fine. I get it.
Yeah.
But you also have to, on some level, know that everyone else thinks it's disgusting. and then to subject people to that, like the foulness of it, like bring you face to face with it. It's just like it's either a wicked behavior or just like you really are just an animal. And that, I guess that I shouldn't be surprised because Applefest is a little bit of a carnival, and it's a nice event. There's lots of families there and stuff, but just the lack of manners. I mean, is that even the right word to apply to that kind of behavior? Manners.
I mean, that's a start.
Yeah.
I can't think of what you would actually say right now, but yeah, manners is a start.
Okay, I'm on the fence now about pivoting out of this conversation and into a honey-based recipe.
Because it was so disgusting.
Yeah, I don't know if it like really warrants like the transition into talking about food. I think it might be better if we table it for the next episode, if you know what I'm saying.
I think I agree. I agree.
Which I have one kind of on deck, but I have to break down the ingredients. I found it on Instagram, and well, you know what I am going to talk about? This has nothing to do with honey, but you know what I'm going to talk about.
I'm not really sure, actually.
It's another recipe that has nothing to do with honey that I've been talking about all weekend.
Oh, okay. Go right ahead.
All right, so everybody keep your fingers crossed because
Let me roll out. Yeah, I got it now.
I came across a recipe on Instagram that I don't eat a lot of red meat, but I enjoy when somebody makes a good steak. And I rarely eat red meat, but I found a recipe for a buttermilk marinated steak. But you have to marinate it for a week.
A week.
So the video that I saw was, what was it, ribeye? I didn't get ribeye. I got a New York strip.
Okay.
And I'm marinating that for 5 or 6 days in buttermilk. And I'm going to get some steak spices after it comes out. But apparently after 5 or 6 days, the texture of the meat becomes like that of like gelatin, which sounds disgusting until you throw it on the grill. And I've found a lot of recipes online that I think sound unusual, but I've made them. And I mean, you've been the recipient of my cooking. How do I usually do?
Very well.
Yeah. Okay. So keep your fingers crossed for the buttermilk marinated New York strip. That is, I haven't decided what I'm going to season it with yet, but that is going to, don't let me forget that. I have to talk about how that turned out on the next show.
Okay.
You have to make a note somewhere.
I will not let you forget.
Don't let me forget to take that stuff home either.
I will not.
Okay.
I already wrote myself a note.
All right. I'm really hoping it's not a gag. You know, soaking a...
Oh, I really hate not like that.
I mean, it would make it... It's a lot of fat. It would make it cook faster, I would think. And butter on steak is delicious. But if you let it marinate, it would like affect all the tissue. I gotta think this is going to taste great.
And also, the person whose video you watched of this, after they let it marinate for a week, and then they cooked it, and then they tried it, they said it was delicious.
Well, you know who Casey recognized the video maker.
That's right. He did.
He's like, I've seen this guy before. He does good stuff. So, all right, fingers crossed. I'm probably not going to eat it till Friday.
Okay.
I'm going to try and do it Friday. But buttermilk marinade. We'll talk soon about that. Anything else?
I think that's about it. Well, I guess.
What?
There's a new movie out on Netflix called, I think it's called Woman of the Hour, and it stars Anna Kendrick, and she also directed it.
I heard about this.
Did you hear about it?
Do you
want to watch it?
Well, tell me about the What is the synopsis?
So I think it's very interesting. It like pulled me in. I just saw like a preview on
What's the synopsis though?
So it's a true story, and a real life serial killer went on a dating game show.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And he got found out through that show.
Right. Yeah.
And it looks to me like this is sort of intriguing, like terrifying, but also very interesting at the same time. Also, let me just say again that she directed it, and I really like her. So I'm very like interested in her star. I always think that's interesting when an actor stars in and directs a movie, because acting is very far from what I would but then to be directing yourself, honestly, it just boggles my mind. I don't. A lot of people do that. I think
I think I can get, or I can wrap my head around the idea of like, I want the scene to look like this. I know what I have to say.
I've thought about that before, yeah, and
I know how I have to deliver the line.
Yep.
And if you can kind of put yourself like, I think what a good director would do would be to, like, you have to know how you want I would think you would have to know how you want the scene to play out. Mm-hmm. So then you take ownership of what your role is going to be. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to say this, and then you, serial killer, dating game show host or contestant guy, you're going to say this, and you're going to say it in this way. Mm-hmm. And then I think you have to work through it like anything else. Any other project, you have to work through piece by piece.
Yeah.
But what I was going to tell you is two things. Tom Segura made a comment about this, about how you women, you love these murder, these well, not just shows about murder, but shows about, or anything that highlights the relationship between a woman and someone who's insane. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's really weird how that works, but yeah, I can't speak for everybody, but yeah, there's something about it.
And then
Tom.
You know who else? This happened on Kill Tony. You know Tony Hinchcliffe, the comedian?
I don't think so.
You've seen a skinny guy.
Okay.
I'll show him to you later, but he has this I don't know if you call it a variety show, but it's him and a couple other professional comedians, and they have just people in the audience who want to try their hand at comedy come up and crack jokes and try to make the comedians and Tony laugh. And usually they suck, and Tony and his buddies just tear them up. But every now and again, they find somebody who's good. Mm-hmm. They did have somebody on last year who just gave these odd responses, and that guy ended up murdering his girlfriend like a week later. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So there's clearly
there's another movie in someone's future. I see.
Or I was just going to say there's a clear connection between wanting to be famous and murdering people. Ugh. All right, we're almost at 50, so.
Okay, and my last commentary is.
Yeah.
That I'm binge watching for the second time. Nobody Wants This on Netflix. Also.
What's that?
A romantic comedy series starring Adam Brody and Kristen Bell. It's very girl. I love it.
Kristen Bell?
Yeah, Kristen Bell. Blonde hair?
Yeah, I know who she is.
What about her? Why were you saying it like that?
I don't know. There's just something about her being from Michigan, and...
This is true.
I don't know. I have no reason... I have no, tangible reason not to like her, but there's just something about...
She also voices Anna in Frozen.
Of course she does.
Mm-hmm. And I know that they're both famous for lots more than just this, but this is what they're doing right now. So anyway, I'm enjoying it. I believe it's been renewed for a second season, so I'm excited.
That's something that we should talk... Why is everybody buzzing? Stop doing that.
In case anybody didn't know, Election Day is coming up.
When is that?
And I'm ready for it to be over already. November 5th.
I keep getting this.
8th, 5th.
I should know
5th,
that.
November 5th.
I'm a grown man. I know when Election Day is.
It's in 3 weeks.
I gotta send in my ballot.
Mm-hmm. Same.
You haven't sent it in yet? Oh,
No.
good. I'm not behind the 8 ball.
No.
All right, but
I mean, technically you have 3 weeks to do it, but if you send it in earlier, it helps them out.
I want to get it out this week.
Every weekend I tell myself this every weekend. And guess what? Here we are, Sunday night.
Yeah, but I have time off this week.
It doesn't take that long. I could, like, do it quickly, but I just... Anyway.
That whole day is just going to be a nightmare. I'm not doing anything that day.
It's-
Is that a Tuesday?
Yes.
Oh, God. Then I have to be at the... This is just how it was last time when he was... when he became president. I had market the next day in here on Wednesday. Ugh.
So I have staff development on Tuesday, so I don't have any kids, and we don't have to go to the school, but we'll all be meeting together to, get some staff development training.
Where at?
Probably the golf course across from the stadium.
What, you mean like a conference room or something?
Mm-hmm. Like in their, like the house where everybody eats or whatever.
Oh, okay. Well, it's going to be a politically charged day. I'm going to be ignoring all of it.
Okay, let's do that.
All right. That's it. I want to eat, so... Okay. We're going to pick another movie, and we're going to pick a blacklist at some point. We promise you we're going to do this every time we do a recording, and we're going to do it. I just don't know what it is right now. So hugs and kisses. We'll talk to you soon. See ya.
Thanks.